Welcome back to another episode of TableTalk Friday, a D&D podcast. I'm your host, Oswin Alemaker, and I just wanted to tell you about three boys who love to talk about D&D. If you like their style, you should follow them on any podcast service you prefer, and come back every Friday for a new episode. And without any further ado, back to the boys.
Well, I don't know about you boys, but the wind just flew right out of my sails. We've been having audio trouble trying to get this fucking thing set up. And,
my chair just made so much noise.
okay, well, it's good because we were talking about audio trouble, so we're definitely not going to leave any of this in.
Oh, no, it's all staying.
We'll just leak little fart noises in occasionally to see if it picks it up.
You know, it is a little bit nice to be able to hear our natural voices right now, which is cool. We're, without the headphones on. But yeah, we've been having some audio trouble for like the past 5 minutes, and I was having a blast before this happened. Okay, gang? I was having an amazing time conversing with you guys and catching up after our long weeks.
I don't know, man. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great before, and I'm feeling good after. But now, without my headset on, I feel like I've been freed. I am no longer the sheeple. I have awoken, and I can hear everything now. I can hear clearly.
I'm so happy for you, Drew, but
I can't tell what the show sounds like right now.
yeah, exactly, and it's driving me bananas. So if this sounds like doo-doo ass, I'm so sorry,
It won't.
loyal listener, but our headsets, all of them, are non-functioning. We
I'm
can't hear any.
naked.
Yeah, we can't hear any feedback, any playback while we're speaking. So really, we're in the dark.
Turn the lights off.
We need firefighter Eric here.
I mean, maybe we always record in the dark. They don't know.
Could you imagine? We just sit here every week, lights off. We can't even see each other wearing blindfolds.
Please, I can see you. I have dark vision.
Oh, see, that was quirky.
They have TV shows now where you end up getting married to random people that you've never seen before, and you only have to talk to them for like a few hours or something like that. There should be a podcast of 2 or 3 people in a room with the lights off. They have no idea who each other are, what they look like, that kind of thing. But it's just like a month-long thing. You get together once a week, talk it out, and then at the end you do like a face reveal and see what the other person looks like.
Drew, I can cut out like 17 different steps for you right there. Just call them on the phone. I don't know.
Or just
what
do an audio
most of the
Zoom
people,
call.
Yeah. I work remote. I don't know what half my coworkers look like.
Hop
But they
into a
have
Discord
pictures.
call, dude.
Yeah, but even in Discord,
Everybody
there's
just
little
has
icon.
anime girl pictures for their profile pictures. You don't know what they look like.
Exactly.
No, you have to remove all the pictures. You don't want any idea of what they might look like, right? So I think it's Sean, or one of my buddies has like a pink penguin as his icon. And so whenever I play games with him, I always think of that pink penguin.
I have something to talk about. So I've had the past 2 days off of work, which has been freeing in 2 different ways. One, I don't know if we want to talk about this on the podcast, but we're going to. Delta 8 is kind of cool.
And perfectly legal.
And I had a great day with it yesterday, just like having little tiny minor amounts of this little rainbow ring gummy throughout the day. Not enough to like get, super high or anything, but being like, oh, I feel very chill all day, very, very kind of almost in a sleepy stupor all day. And that felt really nice. And I finished 13 Sentinels. I did all of that. And then I decided, some 3/4 of the way through my day, I was feeling like energized. I was like, oh, I got to do something. And I went to do a little bit of rock climbing, a little bit of lifting, and there's this place that I passed by on the way back called Apotheca. Now, this is not sponsored. I always end up talking about things, naming brands on this podcast, and I'm okay with that. Not sponsored by Apotheca, but I walk into this establishment, which is apparently very popular. It's like a Delta 8 CBD dispensary type of place. I think they do Kratom too, but I'm not a Kratom guy. So I walk in, and I see that they have, and you guys, Drew, you're especially going to hate this, but I walk in, and they have a cooler with a ton of different beverages with like cordyceps, lion's mane, with Delta 8 infused drinks. Like these are just weird looking cans, weird different. There was a Delta 8 coffee in there. One was like a shrooms based, not like shrooms, like but like lion's mane. It's meant to enhance your like cognition or whatever. Fucking science.
I don't know any of these words. I know none of them. None of
Okay,
these
well,
words.
if you're into like the supplementation and like fitness space, these are things that get talked about a lot. And I was like, oh man, they're about to take a lot of my money. Because I walked in and I looked at the girl across the counter and said, I have a can problem. And that's exactly what I said to this girl. And she goes, excuse me? And I was like, there are so many cool looking cans right here that I've never seen, and I'm going to buy one of each. And she was like, I get that. I'm kind of the same way with bottles. Like if I see a cool glass bottle, and I was like, no, it's not the same. Every time I walk into a gas station, I have to buy 3 new drinks. And she was like, yeah. And I said, so anyways, I'll take these 5. So
You bought 5 of them?
I bought 5. I bought 5. Now these were different brands, different flavors. And let me tell you, I had this oat latte one this morning. Oh my God. It was one of the greatest tasting things I had ever had. And it had lion's mane in it. And so like on top of that, I was feeling very focused this afternoon. These aren't things that like have super psychoactive effects or anything. They just kind of like zero you in, make you really focused. And plus add caffeine. So I was also, had 85 milligrams of caffeine in it.
Might be the caffeine.
No. I've tried these things before. I'm used to caffeine. This is a much lower dose of caffeine than I'm used to in the morning. It kind of just like things like cordyceps and lion's mane are all for like cognition. I can't explain the science, so don't ask me to. If you want to hear about that, go to YouTube.
Hey, Seth. What's the science behind lion's mane and cordyceps?
Well, let me tell you, I was very focused this morning, and it was a very good time. And go buy Apotheca. It was awesome. I also ended up buying cotton candy flavored gummies. And I only bought them because I've been so into cotton candy flavored things lately, which I discovered thanks to a can.
Oh, is that
Cotton candy flavored Bang, dude, or cotton candy flavored C4?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely C4, man.
Yeah, the C4 is really good.
Have you ever had rock stars? Because I feel like no one ever talks about those anymore. Those should
Why
be a
would
big
you
thing.
buy that when you
Are
have
they bad?
you have so many better options?
Well, look, I hate all energy drinks. You know this. I think they taste awful.
You had that one that you kind of liked that was what, Swedish Fish and Sour Patch flavored?
Yeah, so if I had nothing else to drink and I had to pick an energy drink and I had to pick the absolute best one, it would be that one, and it wasn't very good.
That's fair.
I'm right there with you, Drew. I'm not an energy drink kind of guy. I've never tasted Rockstar. I think I've tasted like a sip of one of your Bangs before, Seth. But otherwise, like, I mean, I've had Red Bull, I've had Monster, but it brings me no joy.
Dude, let me tell you, if you ever want advice, I should start a caffeine advice podcast for the amounts of stimulants I've had in a single day at some points. Now, I am on a downturn right now where I'm not having as much caffeine in a day. I'm trying to make my tolerance go down a little bit so that way I can, ramp it back up again and be like off my goat,
Off my goat,
I
says.
want to be like hyped up my tree on caffeine. Like
That boy's hyped up off his tree.
So, cool podcast idea if you want to do like a caffeine one.
the caffeine corner.
You call it The Roast, and you both drink coffee and just be mean to each other the whole time.
No,
just
I think
ragging on each other.
I like a chill one where I'm sipping some kind of flavor and it's the caffeine corner and I sit down and I put a pair of
okay.
glasses on and I read a book to you.
So you were thinking relaxing. I'm thinking let's just go at each other with some scalding hot coffee right now.
Anyways, I think that's a good spot. Welcome to Table Talk Friday. This week on the show, we're going to be taking a deep dive into Clerics. My name is Seth Pittman. I'm joined by my two lovely friends, Andrew Romano and Zachary Carvon. How are you boys doing today?
I'm feeling pretty good. I did have to walk over here in the rain, so again, squishy socks. But we're feeling solid. Had a good day at work, and then now we're talking about coffee.
Game of Thrones
so.
socks.
Oh, I always look at these and I forget what they are, to be perfectly honest. It's been, 2-3 years since I've watched Game of Thrones?
Nah, it's obviously House Lannister, and I totally noticed that before now that you pointed that out, Seth. I did it.
Is the lion Lannister?
Yeah.
I can't remember which one's which. I know the elk never did anything. That's all I know.
To answer your question, Seth, I'm doing great. I was doing horrible all day because we just had some new neighbors move in downstairs, and they were like putting together, I don't know, a fucking water park. It was nonstop, just hammering and banging and sounds
Bang?
of things. Yeah. They were. Not only were they drinking Bang, but I'm pretty sure they were having intercourse too.
Dude.
So it was just it was too much for my.
Dude, they
my
were
little
hyped
brain.
out of their gourd.
Yeah.
Just
They were out of their frigging gourd, man. But now I'm doing great. And I'm excited to talk about clerics because I think this is sort of a meme among us that Drew just loves clerics.
I do.
Which is why he'll be talking for the next 45 minutes, and Zach and I will sit here quietly.
You guys can just leave.
Well, not to just show my hand too early, but in my preparation for this episode, I was looking through the cleric subclasses, and I realized that they're sort of a mixed bag for me. Like, there's a lot of things to love about clerics, but as far as like we have talked about power creep and how the player's handbook subclasses don't seem to have as much oomph versus some of the later ones, I definitely think that's probably at its like greatest extreme with the cleric subclasses. Just looking back through all of them. Now I remember why I don't think about the knowledge domain cleric or the nature domain cleric, because they're just odd. They're odd ducks in a sea of what's overall a very interesting and powerful class.
See, that's what's interesting about a lot of the clerics is as you read through those subclasses, there's a couple things that are staples. There's a couple things that are like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why would they put that in that? But every subclass of cleric has something that's enticing that makes you want to play it. Even the nature domain, which is probably, I would say, one of the weaker ones, probably not a fan favorite, has one really cool ability. I'm gonna jump into a ability if that's cool. Around level 6, they could just give people resistance on an elemental attack, which is kind of cool. You're like Avatar: The Last Airbender, but you could suck in the energy before it hits one of your friends, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and not to get too mired in the mechanics discussion already, but I'll tell you why that sucks. And it's a little thing
Zach,
called
wait.
Xanathar's Guide to Everything, where they released the Absorb Elements spell. And so the caveat of this whole friggin' thing, yes, I believe it is infinite, so you can do it as many times as you like, but you use your reaction for that round using or giving resistance to a single attack. I can tell you something that can do that. It's Absorb Elements, and it doesn't eat up your whole subclass, because the other two features that you get as a nature domain cleric are Charm Animals, which at second level you get your Channel Divinity, where you can charm plants and animals around you. They're only charmed. You don't have control over what they do. And then at 17th level, you can finally use a bonus action to tell them what to do. That's their capstone ability, is something that the ranger gets at level 3. So I don't want to hear it.
Now, let's not get caught up in the minutia of what, I'm going to be the mediator here.
Please, thank you.
Let's not get caught up in the minutia of what a cleric can do at 17th level. Let's talk about what the cleric can do at level 1. Up until they get their subclass right at the beginning, correct?
Yeah. So just right out of the gate, speaking about 5th edition, clerics I think are a fantastic multi-class because they do get their domain and some interesting special features right out of the box. So at first level, of course, they are a full caster. So we mentioned that. So they cast. If they take them to 20th level, they get 1st through 9th level spells. And at first level, they get their cantrips, their spell casting. They can do ritual casting, which is nice for, cast ritual spells for free if they take the time to do the ritual. And then they get their divine domain stuff, which is pretty much everything that the cleric gets. So they get just their spell casting, their channel divinity, and then divine intervention at 10th level, and then their domain. So really, everything baked into the cleric, I'll say, revolves around what domain you pick, and at sort of just a baseline level, what that means is your deity. So, I'm a cleric of life. I pledge myself to a goddess of life. I don't know, Shantia. I can't think of many more than that. Or I'm a cleric of war, so I've bound myself to Torm or whoever else.
And that's I would say that's probably one of my least favorite things about the clerics is right off the bat, and I know we've talked about this before, is kind of the stereotype that as a cleric you have to be bound to some sort of god, you have to have some sort of worship or something you do that connects you to this otherworldly deity, right? I love clerics for the exact other reason, though, is that for the first 3-4 clerics I played, I was not worshiping any deity. That wasn't the vibe I went for. But that ties in to the overall feel of the cleric, is you could do anything anything you want as a cleric because you have so many subclass options and paths to take. To your point, you were talking about the domain spells, the different domains you pick. That is everything. You can pick. So you want to play cleric, right? Play cleric. But there's, I think, 13. There's quite a few subclasses that you can choose from. You can be anything you want. If you want to be a healer, you can be one of the best healers as a cleric. If you want to be a damage dealer, you can be a solid damage dealer as a cleric. You want to be more of a artificer, supportive, you could be, I think, like a war cleric. They're pretty solid. There's just too many options for me to negate the cleric. There's so much flavor involved.
The one thing I'd say a cleric is not is a like full-on frontal. I mean, you can be a very defensive cleric and take a lot of hits, but a full-on like melee, like frontliner. I think your cleric can be on the front line, for instance, taking a lot of hits, especially if they have like heavy armor and whatnot. But I do not think that a cleric is going to be dealing massive amounts of damage with their melee weapon at all times. While it is a secondary option, though.
Yeah, 100%. And so what the cleric does bring, I think inherently there are some clerics that lean more to like almost a half-castery feel where they get some benefits. For example, some clerics get access to martial weapons and heavy armor, some don't. And so you sort of get that freedom to say, okay, well, my cleric's going to be more of a frontliner, eating hits and providing support to the team that way, or my cleric's going to, stand back, cast spells either to debuff the enemy or be buffing my party that way. But I do like the breadth of variety that you do get with the cleric class. So a lot of people look at the cleric right out of the gate and say, oh, well, I don't know if I want to like devote myself to a god. Like I'm playing D&D so I can do whatever I want. You're telling me I have to follow rules and like, think about the ramifications of my actions in the eyes of my deity. Like, and I've definitely heard horror stories of DMs saying, no, your character wouldn't do that. You're a cleric of blah, blah, blah. They would disown you. So it's definitely coming from a real place, but I would not allow that at my table. I say, you're choosing this class for, the features that you get out of it, right? Mm-hmm. What you make of that and how you want to express that. Nowhere in the book does it say you have to follow, the tenets to the letter, or you lose your class and you're disgraced and you become a shitty fighter. Like that never happens in 5th edition. So I wouldn't bring it up at my table.
And you could also treat it in the vein of like a warlock if you wanted, where like power is granted to you through a deity, whether you like it or not. So you could be like the chosen of Mithra, and now you're an Arcana cleric, and you have to deal with the fact that, all right, I've been granted this. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to abuse the hell out of your powers that you've given me, but I don't give a crap about you. And, Mithra is continuously like, no, you're going to do what I want. You'll see. Kind of pushing you in that vein. You can get creative with it, or likewise, I do think playing holy characters and like devout followers of a god with like tenets and stuff is still really cool. Granted, I haven't played a lot of characters like that. I'm more of the like the noble mischievous archetype, or like I'll play a little bit more innocent characters on that side, but I do like the idea of it. I did play my first character was a monk who followed Mithra, which was interesting, to say the least. But
now, is it Mithra or Mistra?
Mistra, I'm dumb.
Okay, yeah, that's
Mistra.
In Forgotten Realms, that's the goddess of magic or something.
Yeah. So I was
following you 100% there. I would have believed you the entire time.
Yeah, Mithra is from Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Of course.
Pyra and Mithra.
Can that be your
Xenoblade
deity?
Chronicles 2 for the Nintendo Switch.
Exactly. Not sponsored. But yes, I played a monk that followed Mistra, and my character and your character, Haymog, would go like back and forth on like, I kind of stand for this. Well, I kind of stand for this. So I would make this decision. Well, I would make this decision. We would go back and forth on those things. And those are fun things that can come up with the with players at the party. Or for instance, if you've watched The Legend of Vox Machina, not sponsored, you see like Pike go through her entire journey with like her religion and everything, like getting cut off for magic and then getting it back, and it's very interesting to see all of that happen.
Right. And so the discussion of, all right, make your cleric your own, that's not, free license to say, well, let's throw out all the things that we might expect from a cleric, right? Just for the sake of it. There are amazing role-playing opportunities that can come from that. I think one of my favorite things that Seth put me through as a player was as Morwen. I wasn't a cleric, but I was a divine soul sorcerer paladin of Lathander. And so I had my relationship with my deity just like a cleric does, and there was some level of devotion and swearing an oath to uphold these tenets. Well, Seth did what any good DM would do, and he tempted me with a demon's power. So this demon Atil granted me a special cuff that enhanced not only my spell attack mod, but also my spell save DC, which was just super powerful. I think we were like level 5 when he gave this to me, and I was like, ugh, this is so... I really felt the temptation of like, this is such a good item. If I give this up, I'm intentionally nerfing myself. So really, it would be in my best interest to just like hang on to it as long as possible.
But luckily, you didn't take it though, Zach, because your relationship with Lathander was so strong.
Well, no. But we got to play all that out through roleplay. So we toyed with for a while the idea of me using that cuff, and Beryl, our bard, or budding warlock, he was multi-classing into warlock at the time, also had a demon that he was befriending. I think it was Atil too.
It was the same one, yeah.
Yeah, same demon. So same demon's trying to get in my pants, and I'm like, oh, this almost seems like a good idea. But then that's what triggered my decision to finally swear my oath. So I was like a level 2 paladin at this point, and then I finally said, no, I swear my devotion to Lathander. I take an oath of redemption. From evil places, good can always arise, and Morwen himself was an example of that. So it was just like perfect.
I forgot that I did any of this.
Yeah, well, and a lot of this was expressed just like in my thoughts, right? Because I was thinking, okay, well, I was going to go full divine soul
at the table.
Oh, 100%. And we had plenty of asides where like the party rests for the night. What do you all do? Morwen and Beryl have a little aside where we talk about, so what's that demon like giving you power for? What's the deal with that, huh? And just fun little stuff like that. So all this to say, there's a lot of really cool, really satisfying roleplay that can come out of having, set in stone religions at in your campaign. But there's tons of different ways to express that too. In the Forgotten Realms, for example, there's kind of no denying that the gods exist, right? Like if you're an atheist, you're an idiot. Like there are people walking around all the time, raising people from the dead and curing wounds through divine power, and like. Regularly, we know of cataclysmic, like, world-building events where the gods intervened, and because of the gods, this happened.
I'm pretty sure within the last century, Tiamat was flying around.
Oh. Yeah, and friggin', before 5th edition, there's the Spell Plague, because Mystra died and was reborn or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so this stuff is undeniable, but say in a setting like Eberron, they do... what is probably my favorite treatment of religion, and they treat it like the real world, where
we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know if the gods exist, but there are religions and factions surrounding different deities, and clerics do have magical power, but there's no proof where that's coming from. We have wizards too who can also cast spells. So
maybe they're just Healy wizards.
Yeah, maybe one's own faith is enough to bring. Magic forth. Who's to say? So I think that's a really cool, like, worldwide sort of way to treat magic. But I also do just have a soft spot for Forgotten Realms. I feel like it's our default at our table. And, there's nothing wrong with getting to meet Zariel and saying, hey, you want to come help us kill a dragon real quick? Which we did.
See, all this sounds so wonderful. I really do want to play a very religious... spiritually bound character, right? But I'm also scared a little bit to be bound to this person for an entire campaign, you know? Because if I imagine thinking of like a player, right? Because you can't get rid of a player that you don't like at the table per se. You're kind of stuck in the game with them for a little while. It's like, am I going to not like this deity? Or is Seth going to trick me and this deity's actually evil, but I thought he was really good this whole time? You know, I feel like it might get me too paranoid because I'm already paranoid. I get very into the game. I get very invested. I'm like, oh, if I do this as Pyth, this might not work or this might not happen. And so I'll become indecisive. But if it's an actual god that's watching over me that might take all of my powers, I don't know. It might be too much.
Or at 10th level as a cleric, you could summon them, and then they don't take your powers, but they grant you their full godly might for whatever the fuck you're... I mean,
to kill the red dragon you're fighting.
Yeah, within reason, right? Or, send Asmodeus back to hell.
All right, so now we've talked about the concept of clerics a whole lot. Now, why don't we get into like the actual gameplay mechanics of a cleric? Zach, what do I get whenever I pick the cleric class for the first time?
Sure, and I'm just pulling up my player's handbook. Good thing that I'm riffing here in such a
Hey,
casual
no,
way.
we
You don't
bragged
even
about
notice.
you being the encyclopedia on the whatever episode you were missing on.
Oh gosh, what was it? I don't know where. It was the episode where we had absolutely zero structure, Zach. You were gone for too long. I'm so glad you're back. Just
Yeah.
seeing you hold that book makes me feel better.
Yeah, episode is we got our first write-in. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I labeled all of the features already. Oh, I missed Destroy Undead. So we'll go through again. They get their spellcasting, they get their features from their divine domain, which we'll cover in a little bit. They get their channel divinity, which going into that just a little bit more. It's sort of like a secondary spell almost. So it's a feature that they can use once per day or twice at higher levels. And essentially, there are different features that can be fueled by your channel divinity. So every cleric automatically has Turn Undead. And what that does is you can present your holy symbol and speak a prayer censoring the undead. Each undead creature that can see or hear you within 30 feet must make a wisdom saving throw. If the creature fails the saving throw, it is turned for 1 minute or until it takes any damage. Essentially, being turned means that they run. They're no longer hostile because they need to get away from you as fast as possible. It's sort of just like a shutdown for if ever you run into a horde of undead. This is really cool for that specific situation, but I've been in campaigns before where never once did an undead creature show up. So this is sort of, again, mechanically, it's cool when it comes up, but I think I've probably seen a cleric use this feature like twice.
See, that's the thing. It's so rare. But when you do pull it off, you're in a cave just crawling with zombies and they're about to overtake you and your party, and you use this, which, by the way, you can use twice, by the way. So if it doesn't work the first time, you use it again, right? And you get these back on a short rest. These things are so cool. So when you actually do it, you're going to be the coolest person at the table, for sure.
You get them back on a short rest?
Yes, short rest.
Oh, and you know what? You get 3 channel divinities at 18th level. So I'm so sorry about dissing these. They're actually quite good. For paladins, they also get channel divinity, but you only get it back on a long rest. So their version's a little shittier. But anyway, yeah. Again, Turn Undead is a cool thematic spell. I love the idea of like the cleric raises their symbol and a holy beam of light shoots down through like a crack in the cave and all the the undead flee. But I ran Curse of Strahd as a DM with a cleric in the party, and again, it never came up.
Really?
Yeah.
Not in Curse of Strahd?
Well, you gave us a really strong item that just lets us kill them, so...
Yeah. Well, and I was desperate to find things that weren't just undead because you were running into them left and right. And usually it was more beneficial for the cleric to do something like cast Spirit Guardians than try and get them all to run away.
Which
Yeah,
I
that's
will
true.
mention is the best cleric spell.
Yeah, and we've covered this in our frequently cast spells 3rd level, so we won't harp on it too much.
Oh,
but,
we will.
But seriously, if you're, that frontliner cleric who wants to get in and, deal out those attacks, I mean, at 8th level, even the cleric, well, we'll get there. But anyway, you deal a lot of damage to everything in the front line and keep it from running away. Everything has half movement while it's in your, I believe it's a 15-foot radius sphere. And they're constantly taking 3d8 or upcast more radiant damage or necrotic damage each time. So it's pretty fucking good. At 5th level, you get Destroy Undead, which is the most underwhelming feature. I've never seen a cleric get this off, not even once. And all it does is when a creature, an undead, again, fails your saving throw for your turn undead, if they're below a certain challenge rating, they are destroyed instantly, which sounds fucking cool. Like, you walk into a room full of skeletons, you use your one attack, they all fail because they have low wisdom, and the cleric just ended an encounter right there. But what DM in their right mind is just going to throw a bunch of skeletons at a 5th level party? That's not super interesting. So
A cool one, for sure.
yeah, I mean, I can imagine, like, say maybe a COD Zombies situation where, you're all holed up and there's, a horde of undead trying to break down the doors. Then the cleric comes out and you knock out a large area of undead. That'd be pretty cool. But otherwise, it doesn't come up super often. So the
You can also just fireball.
yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah, but I feel like this is the way to use your holy might,
No, I get it, and it Drew, I understand it is so cool in concept. This is never going to happen. I mean, it might happen one time every now and then, but it's not a useful ability to have around all the time.
Right,
So-
at 17th level, the highest CR that this affects is creatures of CR 4, which doesn't even cover up to, revenants, vampire spawn, a lot of the more common undead creatures that you'll run into. I mean, realistically, the only things that I see you using this on are zombies and skeletons.
That's what I was thinking.
The cool thing about that, though, is I do think zombies and skeletons are CR quarter or CR half. So at level 5, you can instantly destroy them, which is sick. But to your point, a lot of the times when you go up against these undead creatures, zombies, skeletons, whatever, they're usually modified in some way just to make them fun so they're not boring old zombies and skeletons. So I think back to a really interesting encounter that Zach had set up for us in Saltmarsh, where we ended up fighting some gilded skeletons. And so what we had to do is we had to deal damage to them. It reduced or it melted off the golden gilding on them, and then you could actually finish them off, which was a really cool encounter. So I guess the question stands at that point is, if you were to use that ability, you were level 5, let's say you had this ability, right? Would the skeletons or zombies be destroyed? Because technically you homebrewed them, right? You buffed them up. So are they still a CR quarter or
Yeah,
CR
I'd make
half?
them destroyed.
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, one hit. So the functional mechanics. If this is actually in the book in Saltmarsh, so if you want to play
don't
in
give
that,
that credit to Zach.
well, we've already spoiled it. But I described it really cool too. So
You did. It was
yeah,
great.
It was wicked.
we'll give that credit back to me. I'm an awesome DM. But but yeah, it doesn't increase their CR. All it does is the first attack that hits them has they have resistance against. So
Okay.
Cool thing though, and I would definitely if I had a party cleric and I wanted to be just a super cool DM, I would throw shit like that in there. So that they had the ability. Our cleric was already doing just fine in Curse of Strahd, though, so I didn't feel the need to supplement her victories with more things that she could destroy undead.
So I'm going to continue to relentlessly defend clerics for the rest of my life because I love them and I think they're just the best thing to play, period, right? And you guys all know my playstyle. I love playing support characters, which clerics are the best support characters. And I also really, really like the plays. I'm a playmaker. As long as I do one cool thing during the session that's super sick, I feel satisfied, right? That's exactly what clerics are. They're the best support characters that have all these little bombs that they can pull off periodically, right? No, you can't use your turn undead all the time very effectively. No, you can't use your destroy undead very effectively. Divine intervention, no, it doesn't work too often. But when it works, oh, that's it.
We have had a
over.
divine intervention go off when Patrick played a cleric one time.
And it was
Yeah,
super cool.
His only time he's ever used divine intervention, it goes off.
I think the only time any of us have ever used divine intervention, it went off.
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah, that was intense. That was crazy, and it was so much fun. But and I'm not dissing clerics, Drew. I think clerics are really cool and really interesting, and there's so many ways to make clerics cool, and dare I say, even one of the most powerful classes. But that one ability, not for it.
Yeah, and I agree. So we'll continue on. Again, Destroy Undead increases when you level up. The last common feature for every cleric that they get is Divine Intervention, which, beginning at 10th level, you can call on your deity to intervene on your behalf when your need is great. Essentially, the idea is that it's just a super rare thing that can save your ass in a time of need. So say we've used everything else, I don't know, fucking pray. And sometimes it works. So,
And when
employing
it does, it's cool.
yeah, 100%. Imploring your deity's aid requires you to use your action, describe the assistance you seek, and roll percentile dice, a D100. If you roll a number equal to or lower than your cleric level, your deity intervenes. So as you level up, the chance gets incrementally higher that it's going to go off, but it doesn't get higher than a 20% chance. And you used your action on a 20% chance, even at 20th level.
And I'm just going to go ahead and say the one time that Patrick used it was super cool. He could have gotten much more out of it, but you guys were fighting a like an astral projection form of Asmodeus at the time that had enveloped the dean of a college or of a school, and you guys were fighting against him, and one of the students, Patrick's character, prayed to his god. I don't even remember who his god was at the time.
I don't think he never specified a god.
Oh yeah, because
so-
he was a Twilight domain, and so I had basically Alien X from Ben 10 show up, like a god of the stars, like literally some starry form blobby creature comes out of the woodworks, like coming out from the stars that were in the sky, and then I believe Doorknob's one request was to separate the body of the dean from this astral projection. So that's what the figure did. It walked up, it put its hands between the astral projection and the dean, tore him out of it, dropped him to the ground, and then all you guys had left was the feral form of Asmodeus to fight off, as opposed to this intelligent, wise caster form, which was really cool and really fun.
Yeah, super fucking cool. And I just need to correct myself as well, since I just said some bad information, and I know you all were about to email us at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com telling me how wrong I was. At 20th level, your call for intervention does succeed automatically, no roll required. So, so at 20th level, you can use your action to ask your deity to do literally anything
That's
for
too
you.
strong.
Well, but wizards get wish, and clerics, for everything else that they get, also have some very powerful spells that they should be casting at 20th level.
Yeah, and monks don't have to eat food.
And a cleric in and of themselves at 20th level is as powerful as a god, pretty much.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I think it balances out considering you are level 20 at that point. Plus, keep in mind, divine intervention is so rare that when it does happen, it feels very strong. But if it's happening all the time, and you're a 20th level cleric and you're doing it, every few sessions, I feel like the DM will get used to it.
The hard thing about that is introducing a 20th level cleric NPC. Because then you know that person, they can ask their god for anything.
But I feel like at that level, you wouldn't ask for anything. Like you'd hit a certain level of wisdom. You would have the power of the gods at your fingertips, so you wouldn't need just anything. You would only call upon them when you needed them.
Well, and at the same time, you can only do it once per long rest. And once you do it, regardless of if you're 20th level or not, the deity will not help you for 7 days after you succeed.
Yeah, it's like your once a week tea with God.
Yeah, like you do it again, and he says, "Listen, dude, I gave you divine power. Figure it out."
I just gave you your gun. Go use it.
You used it like 3 days ago, man. Just do something else. Come on. But I think I love divine intervention. I think it's very cool. It's the ultimate playmaker. But one of my absolute favorite things about clerics, as we begin to look into them a little more in depth, is we've already touched on their channel divinities, right? We have the turn undead or destroy undead at level 5, right? But one of the absolute coolest features of clerics is the secondary one that you do get. So every subclass of cleric, in one way or another, does get their secondary channel divinity that's super freaking cool. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not super strong, it's very flavorful, and it plays to the subclass very well. They range from just doing ultimate levels of healing to a bunch of your teammates, doing absolutely bomb lightning damage to one single target or something like an AoE.
Wow, I wonder which cleric gets that one.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. Not my favorite one for sure. Or personal favorite, one of the war. I think it's the warband. I can't remember which one it's called. It's just the war cleric, I think. They get a +10 to any attack within their range. I think it's like a 30 foot. So one of your buddies is going to go shoot a sharpshooter shot. +10. That's so cool.
I will correct you there. At 2nd level, it's just on your attacks, but at 6th level, all you get is the ability to extend it to your friends.
That's
and
true,
it still
that's true.
costs a channel divinity like normal. But you're right. Plus 10 in general is still a really cool fucking thing. And even I think the Oath of Conquest Paladin, I'm not going to look it up. I'm pretty sure they also get something similar where they can add a plus 10. But
Yeah,
the cleric
something
can do
similar.
it multiple times. So.
Oh yeah, channel divinities are super cool. The Peace Cleric, the one I got to use recently, it lets you basically do a almost like in a Chardalon Stride, except instead of leaving like napalm behind you, you're leaving healing magic. So you run past a bunch of allies and heal them all at once. Using bonus extra movement that you get on top of your current movement. It's just so freaking cool. I love the channel divinities. They make your character much more cool, thematic, powerful, and yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Well, and so I think we've sort of teased what some of our favorite clerics are. So I think we should go around in a circle before we get into any more nitty gritty about
Tempest.
any specific. Okay, Seth, right out of the gate, you're gonna steal Tempest from Drew. You're gonna
How
say that your
dare
favorite is
you,
Tempest.
Seth.
Right
Yeah,
now?
because I've only played 2 different kinds of clerics, which are Tempest and Peace, and Tempest is cooler.
Those are my 2 favorite ones.
Yeah, so those are the 2 that are. I haven't played Tempest. I've seen you play Tempest, and then I've played Peace. Peace was so much fun. It was super cool. I don't like the spells that it gets, as opposed to a lot of the other ones.
Really? You don't like the spells the Peace Cleric gets?
Well,
Yeah,
and so to mention, each divine domain gets 2 spells of 1st through 5th level prepared at all times. So
Yeah, so you just get a bunch of extra spells, basically.
100%, and usually, or the best cleric subclasses have spells that aren't on their typical spell list. So things from the paladin or the wizard or other shit.
So I'm thinking about this now, do all casters get some type of domain-esque spells?
Not wizards.
Because I don't think wizards do, but warlocks do, sorcerers do, clerics do.
So some half casters do. Bards don't at all, I don't think.
No, they don't get any like valor or lore spells.
No,
No.
well, they
I
do
mean,
get
you-
something different, but it's not the same.
Yeah, so no, not every class is like that. That's not what this is about. Drew, why don't you tell us about the Tempest Cleric?
Ooh, okay. All right. So I am going to flip the page. But the Tempest Cleric is, I think, one of the absolute most flavorful clerics on the books, period. I think they're, in strength-wise, I think they're probably one of the stronger ones, if I had to guess, damage dealer-wise. But, of course, we've already talked about clerics. They're not the best damage dealers. There's always going to be someone else that could do probably a little bit more. But they do deal some good damage. So, right off the bat, think Thor, right? We always compare the Tempest Cleric to Thor. He's just this worshiper of some sort of godlike, thunderous being. It could be Thor. It could be, I think it's Magna, something like that.
Stormmouse is I believe the thunder god, or one of the gods of giants.
Something mouse, Dawn mouse, something like that.
Yeah, Stormmouse.
It's Storm Mouse.
That's what I'm gonna go with. The pronunciation, Stornmaus.
Okay.
In what?
He's the god of the storm giants, I believe. He's one of their like sub gods.
Okay.
Stormmouse.
But that's another cool thing about the Tempest Clerics is that they have a couple different options. I can't name them. It's actually my least favorite thing about being a religious or spiritual character is that there's way too many gods to pick from. I don't know any of them. I know like 2. You have like Lathander, and then you have like the Stormlord guy. That's about it. Maybe Mystra, right? So that's 3. 3 I named off the bat.
Well, yeah, and in Forgotten Realms, I'm pretty sure all of the Tempest domain deities are evil. So there's Talos, there's Umberlee, the Stormmouse. I mean, maybe he's good, but he's a god giant. He's like an obscure giant.
he's like a titan.
giant god. Yeah.
Also, lightning damage, probably one of the coolest damage types in the game.
Oh yeah.
So easy to flavor. You can describe it any way you want. You literally calling down lightning. Anything Thor could do in any of the movies, you could do it too.
Little aside that I want to talk about on another episode, but we got to talk about how I can make Frozone in D&D.
You just thought of it right now?
I just thought of it right now because I think ice is really cool. There's not really good uses of ice in D&D. Anyways, we'll talk about that later.
Which, in your domain spells, as a Tempest Cleric, you do actually get some ice spells, like Sleet Storm and Ice Storm. So, pretty cool little options. You are a little stormy, if you will, not to be confused with the Storm Sorcerer. But right off the bat, they get Wrath of the Storm, which Wrath of the Storm is a variant, if you will, of kind of what a tiefling gets at level 1 or when you choose your race. So if you get hit with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to Hellish Rebuke, and I believe it's called a Thunderous Rebuke in this form here. But it's 2d8 thunder or lightning damage, and they have to make a dex save, which is cool. It's something nice, little bonus to have. Get a little extra damage in. Get the Thorns armor from Minecraft kind of a feel, you know.
It's like when Captain America hits his, or when Thor hits his hammer into Captain America's shield, and he gets blown backwards.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
It makes you feel really strong because it makes you feel like people can't hit you, or if they do, they're going to take damage anyway. So it's like, don't hit me anyway. There's no reason to.
Yeah, and what's nice about it versus Hellish Rebuke is it's not a spell. It's just something that you use up to your wisdom modifier amount of times per day, I believe. So
yeah, I believe you can only use it so many times, which actually makes me think of what we talked about recently, where some of the newer changes to spellcasters couldn't be counterspelled per se. I would say definitely this could not be counterspelled because you're using a holy form of magic or divine power, if you will. So
yeah, absolutely not.
I would say this goes off pretty much no matter what.
So it is better than Hellish Rebuke in most cases, I would say. I guess there's benefits and detriments to both, but you get thunder damage, which almost nothing resists.
Right.
So
that's true.
But fire does have things that are vulnerable to it, which I don't think thunder damage does typically. So
I feel like
glass.
thunder damage hits everything.
Zach.
yeah. Well, next time I
When
make
I'm
a monster out of glass, I should reconsider because that's
I've
a terrible
played Elden
idea.
Ring, and they have those gem monsters. I feel like they are weak to thunder damage.
Yeah, the Crystallians.
That's what I said.
Yeah, of course. or is it Crystalians? Because they look kind of like aliens.
Oh, they do.
And they're probably from space.
It's Crystallians.
So moving on from the Crystalians, I think probably one of the absolute coolest things that they get in this subclass is the Channel Divinity Destructive Wave. I don't need to look at this too much because it's my absolute favorite thing. Whenever you're dealing lightning or thunder damage, right, against one of your opponents, you can choose as a free action to instead not roll, but do maximum damage to the enemy. That includes the damage we just talked about, right, in your little Thunderous Rebuke. That could be a Shatter. It could be a Call of Lightning, perhaps a Lightning Bolt if you had some way to
natural
cast
20.
it. A natural 20. Oh! I only had this go off, I think, twice when I played this in Eberron, but it's incredible just knowing that you have this little bomb ready to go any point because you just choose when you want to use it as a free action. Anything you want to do with lightning, you could do it right then, twice a day, anything you want.
Yeah, no, that's super cool.
I will
super
shit on
sick.
your parade a little bit there. You're not likely to get a nat 20 that does lightning or thunder damage. I guess with your Divine Strikes, which you get at 8th level, your attack does a d8 of that, but it's not as powerful.
A magic
as it might
item that possibly deals some extra lightning damage or something.
That could be. That's true. Possibilities are endless in D&D. I'm just saying for the cleric, you're not usually going to get a crit on that. They probably didn't intend for you to.
I'll let you change
true,
Guiding
that's true.
Bolt to lightning damage, and then we can talk.
Yeah, there we go.
Lightning
There we
bolt.
go.
Oh wait, that's a spell.
Which, bringing us up to the next one, Divine Strike. To be honest, Divine Strike, I think with this subclass specifically, works very well because they're a very damage, DPS-based type of cleric. They're meant to do lightning damage and nothing but lightning damage for the most part. But Divine Strike does actually work with, and double-check me if I'm incorrect, all other clerics. They do get at least a form of this in some way that increases their damage. I believe Peace Clerics specifically, which I think it's very odd that Peace Clerics get this, but Peace Clerics specifically only worked with cantrips, I want to say, that did divine damage or something like that.
and so that's actually true for all clerics. They either get their Divine Strike, which does an extra d8 at 8th level, or an extra 2d8 at 14th level, or they get their potent spellcasting, I believe, or potent cantrips, which lets them add their wisdom modifier to a roll from one of their cantrips. Or in Tasha's, they added the extra feature, which I'm blanking on the name of. I've got it over here. Blessed Strikes, which lets you add a d8 to either one of your spells or your melee attacks, but it's just 1d8. It doesn't scale up.
Which, super cool, totally rubs me the wrong way, right? Because I think of these like holy warriors, or not holy warriors, but these holy devout people, peace clerics, life clerics, people that to me aren't going to be doing a lot of combat, not a lot of damage, right? But they have these extra little oomphs of damage. Just seems a little weird to me. But specifically with the Tempest Cleric, I think it works the best. Another reason to like these guys. And of course, last for the Tempest Clerics at level 17, they could fly. So that's cool. Can't hurt. I like me some flight. Free flight. Why not? It doesn't have to be a certain level of darkness per se. Other subclasses of clerics.
But they can only fly outdoors.
That is true.
They can't fly inside.
Someone holds like a fan over top of you, and it's like, fuck, I'm inside. You start falling.
I bet there have been several semantic arguments about what indoors counts as.
Oh my gosh, like an airship flies over over top of you, and it's like blocking out the wind or the rain. Are you inside?
You're in the fucking rainforest. There's a canopy of leaves. There's no wind getting to you. You can't fly.
You're inside, idiot.
It makes me think of those awful moments in Skyrim or those little clips where you see them going into shopkeepers' shops and putting buckets over their head and then stealing all of their items because they can't see. So the counter to a Tempest Cleric is just have a bucket on you at all times and they can't go anywhere.
Because you're inside.
Yeah, you're inside. It definitely works that way. Yeah.
Well, class, if you're wearing a hat, you're inside. You're wearing a helmet, you're inside.
Definitely inside.
You have to have your helmet off.
It sparks debate, the Tempest Cleric. Play Tempest Cleric if you want debates.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, which I will say, on the one hand, I feel like at 17th level, everyone can fly. Just like, let me fly whenever I want. But at the same time, I like that it's situational because it makes it feel unique. So, same thing with the Twilight Cleric, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. You can only fly while in dim light or darkness. So, but they get that at friggin' 6th level, which is crazy, versus the friggin' Tempest Clerics that get it at 17th. That's ridiculous. Anyway, we've talked about your guys' favorite domain. I just have to bring up mine because it's the best one objectively.
No, that's fine.
Well, and so
you've crunched the numbers.
You're wrong. It's fine.
Well, and so I do consider myself, like, of the three of us, I'm definitely the power gamer.
Oh, yeah.
So I know what the best option is. And if you're talking, raw abilities, mileage that you're going to get out of this class.
Nature Cleric.
Yeah, it's the nature one. No, the Twilight domain's probably going to be the best one. The Forge domain is a close contender for my second one, but boys, it's an upset. I'm going to have to give it to the Grave Domain Cleric.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a good one.
And so what I love about the Grave Domain, and it's the same thing that I love about the Forge Domain, is both are featured in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and they just put the player's handbook, like the closest version of that, to shame. So I consider the Forge Domain is the better version of the War Domain, and the Grave Domain is the better version of the Life Domain Cleric. So what the whole idea behind the Grave is, you're not like a death cleric, you're not raising things from the dead, but you like walk the line between life and death, and it's all about like bringing people back from the brink of death. So at their first level ability, they can manipulate the line between life and death. When you would normally roll one or more dice to restore hit points with a spell to a creature at 0 hit points, you instead restore the highest number possible for each die. So, say if your friend goes all the way down, you're saving that 3rd level spell slot to whip out just a massive Cure Wounds or a massive, whatever you're packing. And then all of a sudden, you have the potential, even the Life Domain Cleric has the potential to waste a high level spell slot on healing. If we're getting them back up, it's full, and I love that. Additionally, they get Spare the Dying, which is sort of a useless cantrip in general, but you can cast it as a bonus action at range. So you can go around saying, you're up, you're up, you're up, or, you're not dead, you're not dead, you're not dead, which just instantly, that's really cool. They get Eyes of the Grave, which lets them detect undead within range, sort of like a paladin does. I'm not going to go into that one too much, but their Channel Divinity, Path to the Grave. Now, this is the big gun. Woo! So, again, I agree with you, Drew. Cleric is the quintessential support class, and this is the biggest bro move, really. Like, going Grave Domain, you're never going to get to use this on your own, but you're going to say, hey, bud, I know you got your nuclear option. Hey, Paladin, hey, I don't know who you are, whatever. I'm going to make you look so fucking cool right now. so you use this channel divinity against another creature. There is no save. It just happens. As an action, you choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you, cursing it until the end of your next turn. The next time you or an ally of yours hits the cursed creature with an attack, the creature has vulnerability to all of that attack's damage, and then the curse ends. You do automatic double damage on that hit, and I know everyone at the table is sweating. They're waiting. They're waiting for that nat 20. The friggin', I don't know, the bard has given you your bardic inspiration. It's got a hit. I don't know, the druids cast fairy fire. It's got advantage. It's gonna happen. And when it does, everyone friggin' blows their mind. I don't know. I love it. I love it so much.
They're sauced out of their gourd.
They're sauced out of their gourd!
I just love everyone at the table just instantly loses their shit all at once, just throwing things around the room.
Just flipping the table and jumping out of windows.
At 6th level. And again, one of the reasons that I love this subclass so much is just the naming of the features. It sounds so fucking metal. Like this is something straight out of Dark Souls. Sentinel at Death's Door. At 6th level, you gain the ability to impede Death's progress as a reaction. When you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you suffers a critical hit, you can turn that crit into a normal hit. Any effects triggered by the crit are canceled. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier.
All right, I'm kind of on the grave domain train now. It's my new favorite. I've just changed. I've flipped sides. I hate Tempest Cleric, actually. It's now at the bottom of the list.
Okay.
Nature is in second.
Okay. No, I see how this is.
At 8th level, they get their potent spellcasting, and then at 17th level, you can seize a trace of vitality from a parting soul and use it to heal the living. When an enemy you can see dies within 60 feet of you, you or one creature of your choice that's within 60 feet of you regains hit points equal to the enemy's number of hit dice. You can only use this feature if you aren't incapacitated. Once you use it, you can't do so until the start of your next turn, but that means every turn you don't use a reaction. There's nothing that goes on with it. It just happens. Every time you kill something, you or your friends heal. Every single time. It's passive. It's happening all the time. It's way better than a life cleric.
Okay.
Grave
Zach
domain.
Step to the table.
Grave domain is very cool. I, being probably the least knowledgeable of clerics in our little group right here, am very impressed with what you guys have shown me with your passion for clerics today, because I still have like 10% the passion that you guys have shown me as far as they go.
Seth.
I love rogues.
But they're not clerics, though.
No, they're not. They're clerics with knives.
Could we just do a day? Honestly, it could be any day. Zach, you and I, we work together as hard as we can, put together like a cleric PowerPoint for Seth, and we just present clerics as hard as we can.
Clerics, Drew. I just like playing other things more.
Yeah, I don't know if that friggin' unhinged tirade that I just went on, if that didn't convince Seth that clerics are really cool, I don't think that
I think the Grave Cleric is really, really cool, and I am now on its side. I'm just not as interested in playing a cleric.
I mean, it's fine.
I
we
think
can't all
clerics
be the
are
coolest
great.
guy at the table.
I just played the Peace Cleric, and it was fun, a little bit, and I liked a little bit of healing that I did, but I like making anime plays. You like to make your cool support play or your one big showstopper move. I like to constantly feel like an anime character, and I don't feel like that as a cleric. I feel like that as a rogue. I feel like that as the Blade Singer Wizard that I played, as the monk that I played. I like anything that makes me feel like an anime character.
All right. But if Balrock the Undying wasn't an anime character, I don't know what was, and he was a Grave Domain cleric.
Yeah, well, no. You're misunderstanding me. Anime protagonist.
Yeah.
Balrock is a side character. He is
course.
not a protagonist.
Yeah, well, he's got to use his path to the grave so that someone else gets the glory.
Exactly. He is the best friend to the anime character.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he's Goku holding Raditz in place, so Piccolo gets to use the special beam cannon.
Yeah, and everybody who's watched Dragon Ball Z knows that Piccolo was the main character.
Exactly. And I couldn't have made my point any better. So you're welcome, Seth, for that alley-oop. I just led you to the finish line there. This episode has been going on for a while now. We're not going to get through all the features for these divine domains
No,
yet.
we really
It's
don't.
been close to an hour.
We don't need to
gosh.
go through that because I need to bring up a new segment. We got to move on. Guys, what has Eric been doing this week? Because we have some fan mail to go through. Clerics are awesome. I love talking about them, and I feel like we've done them a great service in the deep dive today. But we have some emails to go over. One from our good old friend, good old gamer Eric. Hey there, crazy kids. I'm still catching up on the pod, so I'm not sure how many TTRPGs you guys have checked out other than good old D&D. Attached is the core rulebook for a Mass Effect game you might find interesting if you don't know about it already. That's not the interesting part that good old gamer Eric wrote us. He wrote us some PS messages that I just needed to follow up based on what we said last week at the end of the episode.
Okay.
PS, I am not Seth. But he seems like a cool dude, so I wouldn't mind if I were. He's got great taste in games. Y'all should fall in line and take notes. JK, you know it's not me because he said y'all, and I don't say y'all.
Anymore.
And I'm in my early 40s, so your old man impression of me was spot on, especially compared to you spring chickens. And he left a very cool emoji. P.P.S. Tali and Garrus forever. I like their chemistry. I don't romance either of them and ruin that. Tali is like a little sister to me because she first joins while on her pilgrimage, which is like a coming of age thing for her. And Garrus is my best bud, so I'm his wingman and sure he gets the best. But I do agree that romancing Liara is kind of sus. So, we're a little bit sus on that end, Drew. But good old gamer Eric, thanks for following up. I can't agree with you that Tali feels like a little sister. She is a wife. She's the best romance option in the game. And other than that, Liara kind of being sus makes half the internet kind of sus because everybody talks about the blue lady.
She is very memey, and Tali is not very memeable, I don't feel like.
No, Tali's not memeable at all. I mean, maybe a little bit. She won't show her face.
But when I think Tali, I think of a really cool story arc, though. She had a really cool vibe going on.
Yeah.
You know who didn't? Liara.
Yeah, and while Liara had a really cool story arc, it just didn't have anything to do with having sex with us. Like her whole,
That's what it's all about, baby!
her whole story arc was the fact that she, is on the back end. She becomes a very high figure on the, it's been a while. I forget what she was called.
The Shadow
Broker. Yeah, that was it.
That was cute. We did it
yeah,
together.
she became the Shadow Broker, which is a really cool storyline for her with the DLC in the second game. Anyways, thank you, good old gamer, for writing in. We always love hearing from you. We have another email from a brand new listener named Curtis Lord. Let's see. Moments that are always brought up. Hey, dudes. Love the podcast. Since y'all have a streak going on write-ins, I figured I'd keep it going. My question is, do you guys have a single moment from any of your campaigns that are often brought back up between the players? For my group, it is an incident known as the Flesh Tree. As a bit of background, my campaign tends to be darker in nature. I'm a big fan of horror, so I like to make things just a little bit more grim. My players had been tasked by a cleric to go to a nearby town and retrieve ingredients for him so that he could craft a cure for a plague that was afflicting some soldiers they had been traveling with. When they got to the town, they were approached by a woman who was looking for her sister, and she believed that her sister had been taken by the doctor at the hospital which they were going to. The players went to the hospital, and while there, broke into the basement to try and find the sister. They discovered the basement was part prison, part medical lab. In the back of the lab, hidden behind some locked doors, they found the Flesh Tree. The doctor had found a way to conjoin a tree from the abyss with the woman's sister in order to bear fruit that could cure all ailments. The caveat was that the fruits caused the people who ate it to depend upon it, and if they did not continue to consume the fruit, then they would devolve into Nosferatu-style creatures. The doctor found them and tried to convince them to leave it be, as most of the village at this point depended on the fruit. The whole time they are talking to the doctor, the human side of the tree is pleading and begging with them to release her. The rogue of the group decided in the middle of the conversation to do as she asked and start cutting the tree down. The tree, to describe it, was the color of burnt and blackened skin with the arteries visible between the cracks in the bark. The rogue didn't have an axe, so he had to use a short sword to try and cut it down. This took several minutes and was pretty visceral in how I described it being cut down. This was the third session of our campaign together. And it was almost a year ago now. Nearly every session, that tree is still referenced and will live on as our mascot for as long as the group still stands. Cheers, boys, and keep up the good work.
Let me just applaud you, Curtis. Thank you so much for sending that in. I think that's sort of the main thing that you want as a DM when you're doing like a horror session. You want that shit to stick. And honestly, like that's
sticking with me right now.
That's a great idea. I wish that I thought of it and seeded into Curse of Strahd somewhere, because honestly, I feel like it's difficult to pull off at a table, right? To get your players to say, "What the fuck?" That is awful. And if I don't know if they were actually scared of the thing or what, but if you're able to pull that off, there's nothing that feels better. Like, you ride that high for a long time when your players are like, no, I didn't like that, and I'd like for you to stop, please. As long as we've all established that this is a horror game, we're all in on it, we're down for it, then my hat's off to you. Fantastic job, Curtis.
I hope you feel really good whenever it comes up, because it actually does sound like a horrifying scene. I'm a little skeeved out thinking about it now. To me, I think of that as the equivalent of like going up against something larger than life, like an ancient red dragon or a god. Because do I want to fight the god? Yeah, but it's probably going to squash me, though. So in the same sense, I want to go fight this thing. I want to have the most epic adventuring party battle I've ever had. But it's also scary. I don't want to do it.
As the resident forever DM, I don't have the capacity to write anything like that. I am a very happy-go-lucky person, and I don't like horror-themed things very much at all. I don't have that capacity. Would I love to play in a campaign where something horror-themed like that is featured? Yes, sounds great. I played Curse of Strahd, had a great time. But do I have the capacity to make something like that happen? Absolutely not. Hats off to you. Do we have anything that we bring up in our games pretty consistently? I would say the soup is a big one that we bring up all the time. No character in any of our games will ever eat soup again, because not only was everyone knocked out and thrown into the Tomb of Horrors based on one serving of soup, we also had a second one-off where another player was DMing and served us soup, and we thought surely not again, and we went on an acid trip adventure thanks to the soup. So the soup is a big one. It's not like as crazy of a story as yours, but we bring up soup pretty much every session.
And of course, there's Frontgate Eric.
Oh yeah, we bring up the Eric bit. The Eric bit is all from our campaign. I think we explained this in the We Gotta Write In episode, where we talked about where the actual term Eric comes from. And yeah, that was from our campaign. So we bring up the Eric bit all the time.
I feel like those bits just kind of come up. Like, you might not necessarily think about them all the time, but at the table, someone will whip out the joke, and immediately it's funny again, even though you've heard it 30 times before.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we made fun of our friend, our good friend, redheaded Eric, and his drawing of his character because of just how dopey he was holding his weapons.
He drew that character, and the funniest thing about that was, like, yeah, every time his character will walk in the room, I would go ba-da-ba-da-da-da-ba, ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da, which, if you know, is the background music to any like fun happy-go-lucky moment in Naruto.
Gosh. One moment I do think of, maybe it's a little bit of a different feel, but we had one NPC in Storm King's name was Calden, right? Where whenever we
fucking Calden,
but that's it. That's the moment. You did it. Whenever we ran into Calden, this jazz music would start playing in the background.
I chose Calden's theme from the get-go in that campaign. I was like, Beryl is going to have, like, it was in my original Storm King's playlist. I was like, Beryl is going to have a rival, and this is his theme song. And I throw that shit on, and every time I can expect the whole table to go, oh.
It's true. And then, like, you would pull out your fucking, hello, Beryl, or however the fuck you do it.
That was good.
Beryl. something like that.
Yeah, and this fucker, he was a 2-bit bard. He stole Barrel's songs. He was never as good as him, and it was always cathartic to watch Barrel one-up him, which, Seth, you did not make an attempt to make Calden any better than Barrel.
Oh, no, he was always worse.
Yeah, except that he did No Raise Dead, which Barrel didn't, so that was helpful one time.
Yeah, he called in the background and ended up joining up with the Harpers, and they sent him on a mission to Thay, to which he went to Thay, came back knowing Ray's dead, and being of assistance to Barrel. And then later in our campaign we have going on now, Calden was a professor at the school that Python and Keely attended. So it was really funny because they just only knew him as Professor Calden. And when I brought it up, because they just knew they had professors before, I brought it up and played the theme song. Oh, hello, Keely. Like,
that was
bring that up.
So difficult to deal with. I want you to
because
know.
he was such a good guy,
Yes, but I didn't want him to be a good guy.
He was
I
so
wanted
helpful.
to shit on him and hate him the whole campaign,
and
but I couldn't.
I kind of wanted you guys to think he was the villain, but he totally wasn't the whole time. Like, I kind of wanted that little breadcrumb to be there. No one ever thought he was the villain, though. Like, he was just a good guy the whole time, and he always has been.
No, I knew he wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I was.
Yeah, well, fair.
That's cheating. That definitely counts as cheating.
Well, thank you for listening to Table Talk Friday, and thank you for writing in, Curtis Lord, at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. You, listeners of the show, can also write into tabletalkfriday@gmail.com by sending an email to tabletalkfriday@gmail.com with your questions, your comments, concerns, anything that you can possibly bring up for the show. Just hit us up. We'll probably read it on here. We will have a Patreon coming out soon. I'm just going to tease it now. We're going to be dropping it here in a couple of weeks, hopefully. To which we will have a couple of exclusive little tidbits for you guys to listen to, including a Patreon exclusive post show, starting with the post show for this episode. Patreon is not live yet, but we will have a post show for all of the episodes, starting with this one going live on there. So get yourselves ready. It's going to be really awesome. You can also find us on TikTok at Table Talk Friday, YouTube at Table Talk Friday, and Twitter at Table Talk Friday. And with that, can I have Chris Alien take me out?
Hello, party. It is me, Chris Alien. My name is Christopher. My full name is Christopher Ronald Alien, and I love being an alien, and my name is Chris. Woo! You can find me featured in Elden Ring on the PlayStation 5.
Thank you for listening to Table Talk Friday. For more information, advice, questions, comments, and concerns, you can email the boys at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. And if you'd like to tell your own stories, why don't you hit them up there? Send an inquiry or something, a sending spell. Thank you very much for listening, and please follow and come back next week. Goodbye. Bye-bye.